We have to
I
say
am on
that.
the play. Dude, if you ask me, I think he should be suspended a year. If you ask me.
That's too much.
Yo. Check out the full podcast. Link below.
We got to talk about Ja Morant, but more in particularly, is street culture hurting hip hop? Probably more than ever at this point. It's street rap, hip hop culture. People conflate a lot of these words. They use them as synonyms. They say black culture. A lot of this stuff gets put in one big pot of gumbo, and we try to like act like they're all the same, but they're not in reality. To me, black culture is not street culture. Street culture is not rap culture. They're all kind of different. Yes, do they bite off of each other? Do they have some, commonalities here and there? Sure, of course. But the reason why I try to make that distinction is because has Ja Morant, can we curse him out? I'm sorry. Like, why? You know what what's been pissing me off, man? I'm gonna be honest with you. All the people in the media, the sports media, who've been talking about, and Jazzy, he's a kid. He's a 23-year-old, man. If you're 23, of course, why wouldn't you make a mistake? It's like, can we stop making excuses for guys? Like, yo, what world do we live in where somebody who's a multi-million-dollar individual corporation who represents billion-dollar industries and companies, when do we call those people kids? At a certain point, don't you have a responsibility? I mean, at the end of the day, do you think that street culture has infiltrated hip hop a little bit too much and is starting to spill over into all of the different, whether it's athletes, rappers, actors, who all want to portray the street culture, if you will?
When you're talking to somebody who says they're from the streets, that abide by snitching, like anti-snitching or whatever, however you want to say it, a lot of times they say, if you're not living that way, these rules don't apply to you. But if you're in the streets, you cannot snitch. You're not relying on police to solve anything, right? So what that tells me is street culture is at least reasonable. In terms of hip hop culture, what I also love that's going on right now is how much people are denouncing it. Like people who are from the streets that are denouncing it. Yeah, every once in a while, you might hear somebody say, yeah, man, you ain't from the hood. It's considered an insult to some people. You're like, yes, I am from the hood, right?
Yeah.
But there is this push to let people know, like, it's not tight to be from the hood. It's not tight to be from the streets. It's not tight to live that life. Mm-hmm. And even in music, if you listen to music today, people are talking about getting out of the streets in the music. People are talking about getting it out of the mud. People are talking about bettering their life. Like, there is a push in hip hop today to get out of that. Mm-hmm. But, at the end of the day, what's never going to go away is somebody testing your gangster. That's been going on since the 60s and 50s. That man has been going on since before Christ. Yeah, it's been going 60s. On forever. And so when you're somebody like a Ja Morant, where they look at you and they just automatically assume you're a basketball player. You're not from the streets. You're a basketball player. You're not hard. A lot of times you're tempted to prove you are. It's funny. I was actually on the side of, Ja Morant's dumb for this and he needs to smarten up. I'm not as hard on that stance as I used to be. At the end of the day, we don't know who Ja Morant is. This whole notion that a lot of people saying, oh, Ja Morant grew up in a family household. He has both his parents. He grew up with both his parents and, he went to a really good school. The streets is something that a lot of people choose. We can't just automatically assume the only way you're from the streets is you were born in the streets. There's some people that can be leaving their mansion after school. Yep. Or going after school, coming home, and then leaving a mansion and going to hang out with people in the streets.
Let's learn from New.
Dad, why can't I pick my own friends and choose things in my life for myself?
Because you're not making very good choices.
What's up? That's your little Beamer?
Yeah.
It come with a maid and a butler and everything, huh?
Rashad, I'm sorry.
Aaron, is it?
The streets is something that people choose. And I think with Ja Morant, I think the narrative has to change. If he chose to be a street dude, that's what he chose. Like, I think we need to stop trying to assume he's not street because you don't think he came from that. So with that being said, I said I knew he was going to get in trouble after that first instance because I said, yo, for him to get it, it has to no longer be cool to him. Being in the streets, like a lot of these rappers been in the streets their whole life. It's no longer cool. They've been in the streets and they've been doing street stuff their whole life. The moment Ja Morant says, yo, like this ain't cool no more, that's when he's going to stop. I still think he thinks it's cool.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure. Number one, I don't like when people try to assume somebody's not street because they grew up a certain type of way.
Yeah.
People, not everybody. I don't agree that you choose the streets. I think that like there's people who are in underprivileged circumstances that get more heavily pressured into living a certain type of way based on their conditions. A lot of the times we can act like them people have a choice. And yes, if we want to individualize, sure, everybody has a choice technically, but a lot of people, it's harder as opposed to somebody who wasn't, who didn't grow up in a quote unquote street lifestyle. They had to go out of their way to live that type of lifestyle. So I think that's what people are getting at when they get at Ja. It's like they're assuming he didn't grow up street or in the hood or whatever you want to call it. And so he's going out of his way, which I think is idiotic to most people, and including me. We're not talking about, okay, somebody chose this lifestyle, great. If that's what they want to do, great. Well, what about the contract? What about the obligations that he has as a professional athlete to not live like that? What about that part? Because isn't that the real meat of the discussion?
The thing
as to why this is such an idiotic.
Well, the thing is,
string of events from this dude.
Just don't put it on camera. Like majority of the stuff you doing, we won't know if you didn't put it on camera.
Yo, that's this era. That's this generation.
Like, if you didn't put that thing on camera, like you can be streets. For some reason, I went on a rabbit hole about Javaris Crittenton. Remember him? Of course. Who used to play for the Wizards.
Of course.
Who went to jail.
He was a Crip.
He was a Crip. I had no clue.
Yeah, he was.
And if they were like he chose, like he just got involved in it, right? But you wouldn't know. There was no social media like that. You would not know, right?
Didn't he die?
No, he went to jail. He came out. He killed somebody.
That's what it was.
Right?
Okay, that's what it was. Yes.
With Ja Morant, at the end of the day, you can do all that stuff that you're doing, right? But when you put it on camera, that's a whole nother story. And then what's crazy to me is that he wasn't at an NBA facility when he did that. Now, the first one, he was on a plane. That was, I believe, the NBA got him. They try to say that he had to, if he carried the gun on the plane, that was a.
Well, that was.
I don't think he got a. It didn't. That wasn't the case.
That was the first incident in Denver.
He was in a strip club or whatever.
March Morant was suspended for 8 games after he was seen holding a gun inside a nightclub on Instagram Live. A representative for Morant did not immediately respond to it.
That was the first incident.
And so I don't want to be that person, but like it's not fair because there's a lot of gun lovers in America that flaunt their gun. There's politicians that flaunt their guns a lot, right?
Sure.
So he did that, and he didn't do it in NBA facilities. He didn't do it on damn court. He did it in his own personal life. It's his personal life decisions. No, listen, I'm not rolling. I personally don't think it's a good idea. Mm-hmm. You are a role model. Whether you like it or not, you are a role model to a bunch of little kids.
Charles Barkley said NBA players ain't role models.
I am not a role model. Parents should be role models.
If somebody likes you, you are a role model by default.
Yo, I don't. Yes, I agree.
So
nobody chooses to be a role model. You actually just are one. It's just a matter of, do you want to be a good one or a bad one?
I mean,
that's what it comes down to.
But at the end of the day, guess what? Role models are themselves. The reason why kids love Ja Morant, Ja Morant is probably NBA's most important marketing figure right now. You know why people like him? Because he's unapologetically himself, right? He has the colorful braids. He flies. He does whatever he wants on the court. He has the swagger. He dances. People like his swag because that's who he is. Well, he also apparently likes to take videos with guns. Or that's who he's portraying himself to be. I don't know if he wants to be like that.
Listen, there's two conversations here. One is, hey, this guy is an individual. He's going to move how he wants to move. He's going to make his own decisions. It is what it is. I have nothing to do with it. That's one conversation. If we take that stance, I have nothing to add.
But we have to.
But this is what I personally feel. The people who refuse to, I would say, kind of condemn him and what he's doing, you're not acknowledging the responsibility that exists in what he's doing. And to just simply call it idiotic, call it dumb, we got to start. We have to say that
page.
We have to say
on
that.
the page. Dude, if you ask me, I think he should be suspended a year. If you ask me.
That's too
no,
much.
you know
I'm not
why?
going that far.
Because I'm like, you got to make an example, number one. Number two, he pretty much betrayed the commissioner, right? But here's my question to you, right? Let's flip this. The reason why Ja Morant, this thing is so egregious to people, is because NBA is a family-friendly business where a lot of kids are watching, a lot of kids are buying the jerseys. Don't want to portray that our best players are holding guns. In music, in hip-hop, NBA YoungBoy holding a gun does for business in the hip-hop business, it elevates his business.
Of course it does.
It confirms his so-called gangster. What does that say about what people think, the business people think about hip-hop? Hip-hop business people are clearing songs that have to do with Xanax, has to do with cocaine. They're clearing it. They're actually okay with marketing that. NBA is doing everything they can to clean up their image. Why isn't hip-hop doing everything they can to clean up their image?
A lot of industries do not excel off of violence and guns. So, of course, NBA, who has advertisers that are more family-friendly, they're going to stray away from that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Whereas the music industry, specifically hip-hop, is the complete opposite.
But that's
and
not okay.
I'm
you know what I'm saying?
I'm not
saying you are.
In my opinion, I don't think this is about the fact that Ja Morant had guns. Guns are not illegal in this country. Bro, everybody has a gun in Memphis. We got to stop that narrative. That's not true. There's been plenty of pictures with Draymond Green, other NBA players who have taken pictures with guns throughout the years. I didn't know any of this, but it came up as I was doing more research. It's not the fact that he has a gun. It's how reckless and how he's brandishing the gun on camera.
But let's be real.
That's the if he had the gun on his hip, nobody's saying a word.
While embracing hip-hop culture.
And it furthers,
it would have hit differently if NBA YoungBoy wasn't playing in the background.
Why was he? Yo, NBA YoungBoy was playing both times.
So you mean to tell me when hip hop culture is involved, people are offended? That's a question.
Yes. When hip hop is involved,
isn't that crazy?
Main Street, and I want to be very clear because this topic is about, is street culture hurting hip hop? But really, it should be a street culture hurting the community. Because I don't think people are threatened by hip hop. They're threatened by street.
At the end of the day,
they're threatened by street rap. Dude, nobody cares about J. Cole. Nobody is threatened by J. Cole, I should say, from a violent standpoint. You know why? Because that's not really his message. That's not what he pushes. If Kendrick Lamar is out here, nobody's threatened by Kendrick from a violent standpoint. There's other people who they're not threatened. It's not hip hop. The narrative that some of these street rappers are pushing, that's what's not good for business.
But can I ask you this? Do you think if the roles were reversed, let's say it was Austin Reeves, right, was brandishing a weapon while listening to Morgan Wallen, like, do you think that he gets the same reaction? Listen, I'm not even trying to troll. I'm not trying to play the race card or anything like that. I'm just like,
do I think he gets the same reaction as Ja?
Do you think hip hop is the common denominator, like the hip hop culture? Because like hip hop, guess what street gets labeled as? It's thug. Hip hop, brandishing a weapon, braids, dreads, whatever. Thug. Is hip hop playing into making people assume somebody's a thug?
Yeah, I think
shouldn't.
Listen, I think that black rappers a lot of times perpetuate our own stereotypes. Like we talked about this even before when 21 Savage was complaining to fans online, talking about,
I say a lot of shit on songs. It's catchy. People like it. If I started making music about Jesus Christ and turkey drives and like that, how many fans would I have? Zero.
That mentality
It's crazy.
He knowingly is perpetuating negative imagery of what rappers / black people do to further his pockets, to further the industry. When people are knowingly making that decision,
he's got to do what he's got to do. Is essentially, he's one person,
but he's part of a system.
The problem is the system. People green lighting certain things.
Listen, guys, you tell us, should Ja Morant be suspended? Is hip hop the reason for all this? If this was a white person, to Q's point, who did the exact same thing, would it get the same reaction?
With country music,
they got to be a star like Ja, though.
Listen to the full episode. Link below.